Hello everyone and welcome to another top 8 round of Pro Tour Hellscube 8. Here we have the number 2 seed Chai against the number 7 seed Nobroam. We'll have... No, it looks like Nobroam is number 2 seed and Chai is number 7 seed. My bad. Chai on Affinity and nobroam on Gary Land combo. So I have yet to see the Affinity deck in action, but I know this right here, Darksteel Chad, is the star of the deck. It is an 11 mana 7/6 with Menace and Indestructible and has Affinity for the word Artifact. So every instance of the word Artifact on permanents that Chai controls, and it says here if you can read it in the card and it isn't in italics, it counts. Artifacts and artifact cycling and that type of thing count. So the whole point of the deck is to try and get this out as quickly as possible. Cards like that produce mana and also are artifacts are hugely important here. Artifact lands are super important. And this card, Thinking About Volleyballs, is super important because it creates 3 volleyball tokens. Each of those volleyball tokens is an artifact token. We sacrifice this artifact, so this one mana card creates 6 affinity for artifact. And so this will certainly be something I am looking forward to seeing, and I'm excited to share it with all of you. Chai opting to go to 6 here. See, this is an artifact land, so this is extremely helpful. City of Brassman, not an artifact, but a great any color land that can also untap on your opponent's turns. All right, Nobroam starting us off with a really windswept heath. Nobroam's version of the Gary deck, if you've seen Clunker Punker's version of the Gary deck, is a lot more all-in than that version. We see the Grovergrown Tomb, which is probably going to be the bit that gets exiled, because then it has a casting cost, so it could be cast again for 2 mana instead of the 7 mana. And a Young Forest, which is a forest with Undying. Yep, Grover gets exiled, or airbent. We've got the Young Forest, tapping for Awoken Rotation, which will put 0/1/1 counters on target land, which would be the Young Forest, because it's the only land on the field. And it'll become a 0/0 elemental creature with haste, so it'll immediately die. And then it'll come back with Undying, so it'll come back with a 1/1 counter. And also, you still get to search for a land, so in this case, Gary. And now that's 2 untapped mana on turn 1 still. So tapping 2. We could see the Head of the Forbidden One. We could see the second Awoken Rotation. And we are going to see that Awoken Rotation on the Gary. So Gary will die and the Windswept Heath will come back. The Awoken Rotation getting the Jund Supermarket. And Chai's deck, not very interactive. It is also a very all-in deck. And so the only instance that she's running are 4 copies of Ornithopt, 4 copies of Pact of Memnite, which we saw during Mulligan's was a 0-mana Summon a Memnite as an instant, and then 4 copies of that Thinking About Volleyballs card we saw earlier. So not a bunch before sideboarding that Chai can do about this. Nobroam now cracking the really Windswept Heath. And a lot of options here. A lot of one-ofs in Nobroam's Jund deck. 31 of the cards in the deck, so just over half are lands. Getting the Lurgoyf's Buttprint. And the Panglacial Paradise, which is getting exiled. But grabbing the Lurgoyf's Buttprint. Now has access to red mana to cast Mining. And can tap the Jund Supermarket as a really Windswept Heath. Or for black as Gary, but I don't think that's what's going to happen here. Tapping the Buttprint. There's the Mining. Nobroam indicates they're going to draw their deck. So, looks like that's game 1 for Nobroam. So, certainly a quick game compared to some of our other round 1 matches. But I'm sure that'll change after the sideboards, potentially. So now Chai able to say whether she wants to go first or second. I can't think of a single deck in this tournament that would want to go second. Chai keeping this. Got a Memnite, a Pact of Memnite. Or no, these are just both Memnites. Nobroam going to 6. And then this card here, Dark Confidence. Normally, either a draw spell or maybe a burn spell could be very potent against Chai with Darksteel Chads in the deck. Looks like Nobroam going to 5 now. He's got the Mining, has got the fetch lands, has got the Gary. Putting one of the Verdant Catacombs at Average's Outback. I assume we'll see the other Mining go. Oh no, instead putting the Gary back. Of course it can be grabbed by one of the fetch lands, the Verdant Catacombs, so that makes sense. Chai playing out the Blood Crypt, the Memnites, a Mox Charger, Ornithopting to create an Ornithopter. So that's 1. 2, 3, 4 artifacts I'm counting right now. And passing it over to nobroam. Gets the verdant catacombs, taps it, paying 1 life, which they didn't need to do. Gary, Duress to Impress. So a non-creature, non-land card here, which will probably be, yep, the Inspection of Thraben gone, which is fine because right now Chai can't cast that. I guess they could use the box charger to cast it, but it would still be a bit extra. Is denying that clue though. And then passing Chai, gonna get a second Ornithopter on upkeep. So the affinity's at 2, 3, 4, 5 right now. 6 with that Memnite. Oh, playing it instead as a waste in order to tap Autotog. Which has 1, 2, 2 affinity for artifact. Going to combat with the Autotog and the Memnite. Or maybe the oh no, the Memnite crewing the Autotog, sorry. Now I'm declaring no blocks. Chai opting not to pump the Autotog just yet. But I believe the Autotog could kill next turn if not blocked. Or could come close at least. But now here comes the really windswept Heath for nobroam. Cracking that. I assume we'll see a similar setup to last time. Getting the Lurgoyf's butt print. And the Grover Ground Tomb, which is getting airbent. And there's the mining. Tapping the Gary, floating a black. Getting back the verdant catacombs, it averages out. Getting another Gary. And now can draw their entire deck. think they don't necessarily want to draw the entire deck. You really want to have the Jund Supermarket in the graveyard, which is very hard to do. Can do that, as nobroam is pointing out, by playing Head of the Forbidden One, discarding the right lands. So that'll be game 2 also to nobroam. Now the players may sideboard. And hopefully now we'll see slightly more competitive games out of Chai. But these all-in turn 1-2 Gary decks are very hard to beat, and there are very few windows for interaction because most of it is lands-based. Chai presumably siding in right now in the sideboard. 4 copies of Flummox, 2 copies of an Otter You Can't Refuse, and 4 copies of Tormod's MTV Crypts. And I think there's a non-zero chance that all of those go into the deck. nobroam in the sideboard. Grabbing Urabrask hit probably to try and prevent those counters from happening. Other than that, I can't see maybe the Really Ancient Grudge. Really Ancient Grudge, a instant for 1 and a red that destroys target artifact and has flashback for 1 green. So it's very possible that we might see that as well, just in case Chai manages to get it off. Excuse me. nobroam still sideboarding Chai, ready to go. And Chai once again, presumably going first. And yeah, there's the Urabrask hit that I mentioned earlier. And there's one of the counter spells I mentioned earlier. So the sideboard should make the games more competitive, hopefully. Chai going to 6. There's the HOA Run Neighborhood, which is also a very good disruption tool against some of these lands decks. And also taps for 1 minute of any color, allowing casting of blue counters like Flummox. So from Chai we see the Pact of Memnite, making So Memnite. And it doesn't say it on there, but that should be an artifact. An artifact right there, you can see artifact creature. Ornithopting as well. And playing out the HOA run neighborhood, more important to have the mana than to potentially stop something going on over here, which I think I agree with. Because there's going to be plenty of viable targets for the HOA run neighborhood. But there's even more importance of being able to cast the Flummox as soon as next turn. It's an interesting pick here. You would think that this land that only taps for mana in your commander's color identity, which obviously doesn't work in a format without commanders, wouldn't be very helpful. But because it sacrifices itself to draw a card, it can be quite strong with John's Supermarket as another discard or sacrifice outlet for it. Nobroam cracking the really windswept heath, looking for those two lands, one of which will be Earthbend. No, not Earthbend, Airbend. Earthbend would be very good. Airbend, not so much. But still decent in the case of a card like Grover Cleveland, which you can then cast and have like a 7/7, I think it was. There's I Sawed This Taiga in half. When that enters, you can discard a card. And when you do, you get a mountain to your hand. So we'll probably see. And there's also the Wasteland Oasis. So going to presumably, let's see. Wasteland Oasis looks like it's going to enter tapped. So maybe, oh yeah, and the Sawed the Taiga in half. It's going to get Earthbent, or Airbent, excuse me. Discarding a John's Supermarket in order to get a mountain to hand. Try now. Could play out the Autotog, but in doing so, first has to Ornithopt. But if she plays out the Autotog, unless she draws a land here, won't be able to hold up the Flummox. So the Memnite does have a waste on the back. It looks like that is the side we are going to see. Tapping the HOA neighborhood and the waste to play out the Autotog. And we saw Chai commenting earlier that maybe dealing a whole bunch of damage up front is important in order to be able to prevent a lot of these life costs on these fetches. But there really aren't that many in the deck, and so I think holding off for now is probably good. There's a Gary, Indiana, tapping the Wasteland Oasis to play out Mining. We'll see crewing the Mox Charger, tapping it for 1 mana of any color to cast the Flummox, but the Urbrask hit is going to cause the Mining to resolve. And looks like Chai calling it there for a quick 3-0 for nobroam. Thank you all for tuning in. Glad this one was slightly shorter than those last couple. I will see you in the next one.